All right, welcome in anybody who is coming in to watch our fantasy football first episode. We're doing a live show today with Brandon and Dustin. Brandon, I remember you're on the channel as well. If you wanted to plug it real quick and just kind of give us a shout out to where we can watch you usually.
Yeah, guys, you can find me in two places. I've been working with CSP Chicago Sports Podcast for quite a while at 9 o'clock on Monday nights, and also at 6 o'clock on the same day, Monday nights. You can find myself and Dustin Jones here on something we've started ourselves, the 4 Star Chicago Sports. We're going to start pumping out a lot of content on that too.
Cool. And Dustin, same thing. Just where we can
Yep.
see you with
I'm
Brandon.
on those same two exact shows. CSP,
Awesome.
Chicago Sports Podcast, Monday at 9, 4 Stars Chicago Sports Podcast, right before that, 6 p.m.
Awesome. Man, if you guys are interested, like I said, I've been looking for help for some fantasy football guys to kind of pop in on some shows with us. And
Definitely, man.
if you guys are interested, we'd definitely love to have you back. If
Love
you guys
talking
have some
fantasy, man.
Yeah, if you keep doing
Me
this
too.
on Tuesday, man, me and Dustin will be here for sure.
Cool. How have you guys done in your recent fantasy years? Let's talk about that first. Let's brag a little bit about our credibility. How you guys been doing?
Platinum.
Winning every time.
He's the platinum guy in the fantasy Yahoo. Right now, I'm in gold.
The last few years, I've had fortune on my side, man. I've finished first, second, and third over the last 3 years, I think. But I've kind of somehow evaded injury in fantasy, which I know a lot of guys can draft a really quality team and just kind of get hit with that bug. I did lose Justin Jefferson last year, but I was able to overcome it. I picked up Puka Nakua in waivers the first week, so that kind of replaced my my first round pick. But yeah, no, man, I like Dustin has always said, I kind of take risks. I like rookies. I like rookies in situations. I like guys that
coming off
probably
an injury value
projected a little lower than where I take them. So it's worked out for me a little bit.
Cool. I'm kind of the
Last
same
year-
style as well. How about you, Dustin?
Last year, I took a chance on another Justin Fields, and that really bit me in the ass. So
Yeah, it didn't work out so good, did it?
yeah, I ended up in the championship in my auction league, but the league me and Brandon do, I've been struggling a a little bit. So
Yeah, it was really strange. I mean, you were scoring a lot, but not winning matches, which is
yeah, I had a very unlucky year this past
Yeah,
year.
I think you were fourth in points for and like second in points against, which can kill you, man.
In my other league, I was first in points for, and I was fourth in the league by the end of the year. So yeah, it rolls that way sometimes. It's part of the game.
Yeah, fantasy's a lot of luck, man. No doubt about it.
Gotcha. Talking about mine, just because I do like fantasy, I wouldn't call myself an expert, but I think everybody's an expert and nobody's an expert in fantasy until, you know what I mean? But my work league, I think I won back-to-back years. And then my big money league that I do with some like random guys, I got second place the first year. And then last year I was first seed, like with a bullet. I was like 12-0 or something like that. Ended up, I hated this format, but these guys did a 2-week playoff for like the first week. They combined the scores.
Yeah.
And I think it's awful. I think you just win or go home kind of thing. And then it was exactly the thing that you always see where first round I get knocked out by like 3 points. And then you see my projected points for the championship. If I had just made it by a hair, and I would have just throttled the champions, even the second and third place. And it was just frustrating. But that was, again, my third place win on that one. So, good fantasy year. I think it's an interesting one comparatively to most years. There's some new guys kind of entering the fold as like your top picks. I think it's probably one of the newer ones, right, where you're not getting your usual like Christian McCaffreys. They're your standards, right? But for the most part, we got some up-and-comers, some second- and third-year guys that are kind of like some random guys. So the format we were discussing kind of doing, just kind of going through position by position. I do love, I don't know if you guys are fans of any podcasts. I like Bill Simmons' podcast when he does his fantasy episode, and he kind of just goes through his like, what's your favorite? My guys, taking crazy pills guys. And I thought it would be kind of just a simpler version of that, just to kind of throw it out there with the rankings and projections. But so let's go position by position. We'll start with like our favorites. It could be a top guy if you want to keep it simple, and if you want to kind of go out of the norm and, guess somebody that you think might be a little bit better. We'll go with, the guy we think is going to have a really, really good year. I don't want to start first. You guys are the guests. Brandon or Dustin, anybody want to go first?
Dustin, go ahead.
What position we talking?
Running back.
Overall?
Quarterback.
Oh, quarterback.
So quarterback-wise, I'm really high on Kyler Murray this year. If I can get him, I'm really kind of trying to stick to not touching a quarterback until I start getting to double-digit rounds this year. I drafted Justin Fields last year in the 5th round. It totally bit me in the ass, and I went against my better judgment how I normally draft. So I'm trying to hold off for guys that are going to be in that 10 to 14 range in terms of rounds. I've seen Kyler Murray in a lot of mocks. I do fall. It's very rare, but I like him. But if I'm waiting, I'm looking at Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence, you can get in the 13th, 14th round, maybe even later. And I think he's in for a big year. So Trevor Lawrence is a guy I'd be cool with having if I had another guy like Tua Tagovailoa or even a Brock Purdy. Rotate those guys.
I like that because that Trevor kind of gives you that consistent guy, and then you can kind of take some risks with like your Brock Purdy's or something like that.
Play the matchups.
Yeah, because Tua is risky. You know, those guys are risky, but Trevor Lawrence is like middle of the pack, but super consistent. You can probably get like 202 touchdowns every game. So I like that.
Potential really high upside too from game to game.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the Kyler Murray pick too. I think you're going to get a lot of run and gun, shoot it out, and then you get those rushing yards and the running touchdowns too. So
Yeah.
I think you're going to get a lot of target share, all that stuff. So I'm a fan of that one. How about you, Brandon?
If we're talking about waiting on taking your quarterback and taking some quarterbacks, like Dustin said, near the 13th, 14th rounds, I like Jared Goff. That offensive line is obviously incredible. Obviously, later in the year, you might have some trouble when the weather gets bad, but Laporte is going to have a better season. I'm reading a lot of good things about Jameson Williams. Amon-Ra is going to do his thing. I do like Jared Goff as probably at least a top probably 9 fantasy quarterback. And then a guy that I just keep taking in mock drafts, man, in the last round. So I'm just going to say this now. It's a risk, and I'm not like 100% a believer, but if you can get Aaron Rodgers in the last round, draft Aaron Rodgers in the last round as your second quarterback, because that seems to be a trend right now, is there's no belief that this guy's going to bounce back and have any kind of season. So I think it's a low risk, high reward if you can draft him, down there in your 15th, 16th rounds.
I like it. I like the late pick. I do think I find it interesting that you guys as like a seasoned vets with fantasy are kind of going with that safe pick a little bit, right? That like Kyler's a little bit more risky, I think, from Dustin, but Jared, Trevor, those are so like your 200 yards and 2 touchdown guys. And I think that like seasoned vets with fantasy kind of do that where we go with the safe guy at the end, and we usually don't invest early in quarterback. I'm a fan too. I like that as well. Since you guys kind of stole my my sleeper ones, my sneaky ones that I really like this year, because Kyler was probably my number one. I do like the Jared Goff consistency. I feel like I got to go chalk just because everything else I can poke easy holes in. And I feel like I just got to go with either Mahomes or Allen at this point. I think out of the top tier guys that you got to take early, I think Josh Allen's still the guy, right? You get your vulture on your goal line touchdowns. I don't think that's going anywhere. James Cook's going to get a lot of your target share in terms of running the ball, but I don't see him turning into a goal line back anytime soon. And I don't see them replacing a goal line back. I haven't been following the Buffalo Bills anytime recently, but have you guys seen anything on that in terms of the
Ray Davis? They drafted Ray Davis. He's a short power guy that they probably envision as that goal line back for them. He's going in the 14th, 15th round as a very deep handcuff. I mean, where are you taking a Josh Allen or a Patrick Mahomes? Like, where's your comfort level where you're like, okay, well, it's the second round or it's the third round. Let me jump on this guy before somebody else gets him.
That's a great question, just because like when I draft with some dummies, sometimes we'll see Patrick Mahomes go in the second, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rarely in the first, but even then. Are you a victim of taking him yourself?
He was terrible. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. My comfortable level is probably I feel like Patrick Mahomes in most leagues is going to go before Josh Allen anyway. So if Josh Allen is my second or third quarterback taken, I think just because the name recognition in most leagues kind of goes first.
Yeah, Lamar, Josh Allen for sure. Those are your two.
Josh Allen is the best fantasy quarterback.
Joe Burrow.
I would think so too.
Joe Burrow might sneak in a late second round, high third round.
Yeah, if we're talking like the make a good call, and I'll make this my official call, then I got to stick with Brock Purdy then, because Brock Purdy's my equivalent of your guys' kind of pick of a Trevor Lawrence, Jared Goff, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns every game. Probably not going to deal with a lot of picks, not going to get a lot, no rushing really, maybe 20 yards a game. But in terms of that consistency, yeah, everything else would have been chalk, right? It's not really interesting to talk about Josh Allen and the positive. But
Purdy's great when it comes to injury. I would never have any injury concern with Brock Purdy as opposed to guys like Tua and Lamar and
give me all of Brock Purdy stock. I want all of Brock Purdy stock. Yeah,
I'm with you. That if we're kind of going in that same direction of like, it sounds like we just all kind of think the same way. In terms
I actually
of,
really hated Brandon's picks, honestly. Jared Goff, not touching him, and Aaron Rodgers. I mean, they are safe, but I hate them. I would hate either one of those guys as my quarterback.
You hate Aaron Rodgers in the last.
I'd like to hear that perspective though. So like, I'd definitely like to hear that.
It's not really about well, Jared Goff, when he's on the road, he sucks. That's half his season, right? So I'm not with that. When he's at home, he's pretty damn solid, but he tends to turn the ball over, not have as good stats on the road, especially outdoors. Aaron Rodgers, I just don't like. I don't like the way it would feel.
Pick in the draft.
I said it is a safe pick that makes sense, but I don't like it because I don't want Aaron Rodgers as my quarterback, and I hate the Jets. I hate the Jets, man. Like, I don't want to touch any of that. That's all.
Do you hate the Jets' personal level or like their fantasy projection?
I'm a big fan of Garrett Wilson and Brees Hall, but
I think
I don't think the Jets are going to have the season that people think they're going to. I don't think they're a playoff team. I really don't. But no, personally, I just can't have the Jets. Yes.
I think the Jets in general are just like one of the most interesting glass cannon teams in the league. Like if everything goes well, they're probably 12-win team. If some things go bad, they're back down to 8 wins just overnight. Right, and then the Hassan Reddick drama and all that stuff. I don't really know what to expect out of Robert Saleh. Is he even a good coach? Yeah, Robert Saleh. I don't really understand if he's a good coach or not. I
don't think so at all.
No.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, we got our favorites. I mean, it's not super chalk. I think we got some good. I think if somebody listened to that and said, you know what, I'm not really sure who to take invest late, man. Invest 6th, 7th, 8th round. It's kind of what we're saying, and go early on your running backs and your quarterback and your wide receivers
I do love
early.
Trevor Lawrence too. Dustin kind of spit that before. Trevor Lawrence. If you're going to go late on a quarterback, guys, it's a good bet.
I see the upgrade.
Justin Herbert's hanging around in that area too.
That was my second choice of that. My biggest fear is just the Harbaugh of it all and the 30, 40 running plays a game.
He's not going to throw it. He's not going to throw it the way he did in the past, but he is going to throw. He is going to throw efficiently. He's going to throw for good numbers. I don't think he's going to have as many opportunities for turnovers, and they're going to ask for a couple big plays from the game. So if you got those bonus 40+ yards, he could pay off for you there, because I think he's going to be chucking it downfield when he does throw a lot of times. So
you're feeling like Justin Herbert might turn more into that like 250 and 2 touchdown guy that we talk about, rather than the upside Justin Herbert that we've seen, which is like 404, but then the 175 and 2 picks kind of guy.
Yeah, Harbaugh is a ground and pound, beat the shit out of you kind of guy. And
I can see that.
Herbert his career is gonna get a lot better, I think, because of Harbaugh. But fantasy wise, his numbers might dip a little. That's showing in his projection right now. Yeah. Gotcha.
All right, we're going to go on the flip side of that. I want to go into the kind of I don't fucking get it category. Like where you go into a draft or you see a fantasy projection and somebody's telling you that this guy's going to be like top 5, top 10 or whatever, and you're like, I don't fucking get it. Where? Yeah. I want to steal mine first because you guys kind of took my first 2, so we'll go with snake order, just like traditional drafts, I guess, right? We'll go through these categories, but Anthony Richardson, I don't fucking get it. I don't fucking get it, man.
Yeah, me neither.
The same people who said that Justin Fields is not a real NFL quarterback are the same guys that can't gargle enough Anthony Richardson dick. And so I don't really get it. I don't get it. It's the same people man. Like it's the same, but you get what I'm saying? They have the same skill set. I look at them in terms of projected projected value and stuff like that. Sorry.
Richardson's is very high, third round.
It's insanely high. And I granted, he's like the 5th rated quarterback, period, like on most mocks and all that stuff. So granted, I think Justin Fields ended up like quarterback 8 last year or something like that in a bad season, but I don't really understand. I always call him Fred Taylor, but it's Jonathan Taylor. But they do remind me of each other. If you guys were back in the day, Fred Taylor fans, big Fred Taylor fan.
That's my guy.
I feel like,
That's
dude,
my guy.
one of my favorite running backs of all time. And then
Me too.
I think they run very similarly, so they always see that. And then but I feel like you're going to get a lot of Jonathan Taylor. I mean, Michael Pittman. I've been watching some QB school stuff of like just the laziest route running. I think the dude got paid. Some guys get paid and want to just ball out. I don't. If that's your number one, and from what I've seen in preseason and all those QB school stuff, I don't see the Michael Pittman stuff. I had Michael Pittman last year, and it was a pleasant surprise because I got him as like my 5th receiver. But I still just don't get it. I honestly can't name you their tight end, their starting tight end this year. I think we're talking about fourth guys, third and fourth receivers as their 2 and their 3. And I don't get it. I mean, it sounds like you guys are on the same page, but I don't get the Anthony Richardson thing.
Yeah, we
care to comment on that?
Well, yeah, we talked about this last night on our pod, our first episode of 4-Star Chicago Sports. But I mean, let me just play the devil's advocate for the side of the people that would want to take Anthony Richardson, those dick garglers you were referring to earlier. I would say, man, that like his rushing ability, if it is unlocked, then you're diminishing the value of Jonathan Taylor, right? And then you're raising the value of Anthony Richardson. He's going to get a lot of the goal line work. He's going to get the tush push at the goal line, and he's gonna be very valuable in that way if he can rush for 8 to 10 touchdowns this season and stay healthy. Now, to go back to the other side, my biggest thing with Anthony Richardson is not his talent; it's his inability to stay healthy. He had the 4 injuries last year. He couldn't make it through, basically a quarter of the season. And I don't know what's going to change about that because his play style is not going to change. So if he got some weight on himself and he's more prepared, like structurally for the hits and those things, like he's healthy, then he could be a top 5 fantasy quarterback this season. It could work out that way just based on how they utilize him in Indianapolis. So I wouldn't trust it, and I'm not touching him. But I could see why people love that upside. Just like I said, I drafted Fields in the 5th round last year, so I can get the mentality of it. It's just,
I feel like even then, though, I can give you a bit of a homer discount. Right? When we all get suckered into drafting our favorite player, right, out of our favorite team. But like with the Anthony Richardson, like you said, it's like 4 injuries in basically 4 games. It's an injury per game. And then if you are projecting him to be as good, you're just basically saying he's gonna play the same, but this time he's just gonna stay healthy.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I don't get that.
Yeah, the only aspect of Anthony Richardson that I buy into right now is his head coach, who I love and believe will put a quarterback in winning situations, but that doesn't change the health of the player at all.
We've also seen that with Fields just so close. Like if a guy's wired this way, it's so hard to unwire him that way, which is one read, 2 read, oh shit, and start to scramble, right?
Getsy's offense, though, and Shane Steichen's offense are night and day.
Fair point.
So it is the 2nd year in that offense, learning the terminology, learning the system. So there is potential. I can see why people are predicting it. My stomach can't get comfortable with it. That's for sure.
No, I'm with you, man. I don't fucking get it. When you said that name, I was like, that's the guy for sure. His projection is where a guy in fantasy can be great, he can be bad. Where he's projected is what dictates how much he's worth, right? I mean, like, there's just no way I'd take Anthony Richardson in the bottom of the 2nd round. I advise people not to do that for sure.
Yeah.
So
agreed. Let's go, Brandon. How about you, man? Who's your I don't get it, or even like a risky maybe kind of thing?
Yeah, I think this is going to disappoint a lot of people. They're going to disagree with me. I know this. It's just a gut feeling that I don't fucking get it. Is Breece Hall? I don't. He's ranked 2nd.
Oh no, we're still on quarterbacks.
We're still on quarterbacks, Brando.
Oh, yeah. I would have said Anthony. I would have said Anthony Richardson, but honestly, Mahomes is on a winning. He's a Super Bowl winning being a good quarterback in the NFL does not equate to fantasy football. I drafted him in the 2nd round last year. And it's probably the reason, because I had a great team. It's probably the reason that I lost in the playoffs. I think he had like 18 points. I mean, he just wasn't good. I had counted halfway through the year. I think I counted the 20+ point performances, and he had like 3 in 8 weeks. And it's just you buy into that. Like he's the guy. Right? He's the GOAT. He's the.
But he still finished as a top 5 fantasy QB, Brando.
But
When it was all said and done,
it-
this is a crazy
did-
one. I don't get it with Pat Mahomes.
it didn't come to fruition when it mattered most. So I'm just gonna.
That's what you remember.
But
yes,
but here's the thing too, man. You said he's a top 5 QB in fantasy football. Where does the top 5 QB rank in fantasy football with skill positions, like with wide receivers and running backs? Top 5 QB is still probably out of your second round, as far as I'm concerned. You're still looking at probably a 4th or 5th round guy, like a high 4th round pick, Patrick Mahomes. When I took him in the second, I immediately kind of regretted it, and I thought by the end of the year, like if I had taken like Tua in the 10th, like I'm probably winning this league right now. So it hurt me, man. It did, and I don't think that a top 5 QB in a PPR league with one quarterback, not a super flex, not a 2 quarterback league, I don't think that guy's got any value in the second round.
Kind of sounds like it's more of a just watch. Don't fall for the name. Like look at the player. If like you just posted the player stats, you'd probably be like, this is a 4th round pick, 5th round pick. But you're just like, people see Mahomes and go 2nd round worth it.
Yeah. And I'm doing mock drafts, and he's going in the 2nd round. And every time I see it, I'm like, I did it.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Taking any quarterback that high is just not something I would
agree.
recommend.
Yeah, no, it was the first time. It was the first time in like 15 years I ever did it, and I regret that.
Yep. Always regret it when you do it.
Dustin, you got yours, and then I think we could just answer a few comments real quick, just to kind of help the fellas out in the chat. So, Dustin, who's yours?
It's funny, Brandon mentioned him, Tua Tagovailoa. I mean, I think that his potential for more concussions is concerning. I think that in that offense, he's got a lot of weapons, but I don't think he's that good of a quarterback. So, I mean, like, he might put up the numbers, but I would much rather have a guy in that same spot. Like, I'd rather have Caleb Williams than Tua Tagovailoa. I'd rather have Trevor Lawrence than Tua Tagovailoa. I'd rather have Herbert. I'd rather have Goff, honestly. So, I mean, like, Tua's a guy that's ranked, 98 to 100, somewhere in that range. He's in that 100 spot range. I don't want to touch him. I don't want any part of him in that spot or at all in fantasy, to be honest.
Gotcha. Just 2 honorable mentions, just to see your guys' faces reaction-wise. Like, ranked above Tua in most ADP, like, mocks, Deshaun Watson.
What?
Fucking insane.
He should not be drafted.
Right. It should be like 29 he should be like 34 out of 32. Like, fucking insane that he's most like projected up there. And then my second choice, if nobody had mentioned it, I was going to mention Joe Burrow.
I love Joe Burrow, man.
You're going to mention the wrist injury, right? Like the concern with the injury.
I think it's I think more than the wrist. I was still already kind of like, this guy starts so slow every year. He's a playoff quarterback. He's that guy on a better team, or like you drop him into like a lot of teams that are just decent defense. Like you put him on the Bears, he's probably going to the Super Bowl. But on this team,
he's got a really good offense.
I agree.
He's never been a top 5 fantasy quarter. He's only been a fantasy quarterback top 5 once in his career.
And right now he's projected around that like 6-7 range kind of thing. Yeah. But I think with the wrist injury is like, I mean, I'm not going to pretend to be a doctor, but it is so bad. That guy's made of glass. It's an unprecedented injury. Yeah. The guy is not physically cleared to practice 3 days in a row at training camp.
That's concerning.
Like,
for sure.
That's insane. And then Jamar's contracting, the Jamar contract thing, however long he holds out. T. Higgins is fine.
They said today that they expect him. Zach Taylor said today that he expects him to play week 1 against the Patriots. Just to throw that out there. Just Chase.
Yeah. I wanted to throw the Joe Burrow kind of like comment out there, but I thought that was
for sure. I understand where you're coming from with that.
I wouldn't touch Joe Burrow with a 10-foot pole, like even in the 7th round. I feel like it'd be a waste of a 7th round pick for like depth of a wide receiver at that point. So just a few comments just to give these guys. Let's give it a 1 to 10, boys. Rate 12-man half PPR. Josh Allen, Kyron Williams, Aaron Jones, Chase, Devontae. I'm guessing
Devontae Smith. Eagles.
I'm guessing Devontae Smith. Ingram, Jalen Warren, Gus, or Hollywood. I'm going to give that a solid like 7. It's a lot of boomer bust there, Brandon Kim. Because you got your second guys.
Josh Allen's a beast. You're good there. I like Kyron a lot too, and I like Aaron Jones. I'll probably give this. I mean, Chase.
It's a good team.
I'll give him an 8 for sure.
Evan Ingram
is
the most
tight end.
reliable target on that team.
Yeah, 7.5, 8. Yeah, solid.
I
7.5,
really like
8.
Gus Edwards this year too. Hey, that's a stacked team. I like it.
Where's Gus Edwards at this year? Just refresh my memory.
I mean, I've
Chargers.
seen him. Oh yeah. Oh,
Chargers.
Yeah. Yes, correct.
Yeah.
With Harbaugh.
Still thinking freaking Baltimore stuff.
Baltimore.
Let's see. Here we got Go Vikes. No. First and foremost, no. AR, Brees, Kyron, Olave, London, Cup, Kittle, Godwin. Your top guys. I don't love this. Your top guys are really risky, and I think I already know what Brandon's going to say about Brees. We just commented on AR. Olave, I mean, the guy might have 700 yards this year, just depending on who's throwing to him.
I really like Cooper Kupp this year.
Yeah.
I think I like him for a bounce back. Drake London, not a fan.
I like Drake London's potential this year.
I'm not.
I've
been
think
with him the last 2 years.
Whoever that
man.
was, your latter picks were better than your higher picks for sure.
Exactly. Yeah, your bottom picks were really good depth, but your top picks were a little risky. Very risky.
Cup, Kittle, and Godwin are great picks in those rounds. Brees and Anthony Richardson, I'm not a believer in them.
Brees Hall is going to have a dominant season this year, guys.
Dude, Brees Hall is projected over Bijan Robinson. That's nonsense. That's nonsense.
Thank you.
I mean, it's neck and neck with those two with me, but I mean,
I don't hate the Brees Hall
injury,
pick,
one of those
but
two guys could be the number one running back in fantasy, man.
I think it's silly when we start commenting on guys returning from injury and Brees Hall is just penciled in as the number one running back. I think that's a little.
Well, it's because of what he did when he came back last year, man. He torched the league.
I agree, but injuries.
What do you guys mean? Brees Hall played 17 games last year and he totaled 900
yards. Yeah, he came back from the injury last year. And
he totaled 990 yards. He didn't get 1,000. He has not had 1,000 yards rushing. He has not had more than 500
I'm pretty sure he had
receiving.
about 1,300 total yards, boss.
And the passing game is going to get better.
I'm pretty sure he had about 1,300 total yards last year.
I don't understand where the love for Brees Hall comes from. I really don't.
Okay. I'm glad I'm in a draft with you.
We'll get there in the running back section. So, yeah. Let's see. We got a 10-team half-point PPR Mahomes, AJ.
AJ Brown,
I'm guessing, yeah.
Zay Flowers.
Pittman, Zay Flowers, Jaden Reed, Keon Coleman.
This team. I like this team.
I like it in a 12-team.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no, that's some ballers on there, man.
No, he's got Pittman and Flowers. Flowers and Pittman are great players. Jaden Reed is a Swiss Army knife, man. He's gonna, and the rookie that I like is Keon Coleman, just because you know Josh Allen's gonna throw 4,000 yards.
I had to Google how tall this kid was. He's 6'3", 220 or something. He's
6'4". Keon Coleman.
He's 6'4". He's huge.
Yeah, he could be a tight end.
Okay, I didn't see the bottom of that list either. Josh Jacobs, Saquon, and
that's way too good.
Najee should have a good year.
Murder there.
Najee should have the best year of his career, I think, coming up.
Agreed. Which isn't saying much, but
and
still
then he's got Ford, which he probably drafted really late because Chubb will eventually come back, but for the first 4 weeks of the season, you get yourself another starting running back in Ford.
I would even argue with the severity, he might even split. Even if Chubb comes back, he's getting 10, 15 a carry.
That injury was brutal.
Gnarly. 10, 15 a game, 10, 15 carries a game, tops. I think they're going to ease him back into it. Want to kind of trade in some of my bench for a better wide receiver. Hollywood, Keon Coleman, Jaden Reed, and Ford. I think if you're trying to trade any of those guys, you got to keep Keon Coleman of anybody. And probably Ford. I'd be okay
if you could. Jaden Reed.
I keep Reed. Yeah, Jaden Reed is going to be used. Jaden Reed is kind of a Deebo Samuel, but he's got a little more speed. He's going to be used in a lot of different ways on that Packers offense. And I don't have any faith in Christian Watson staying healthy. So at some juncture, Jaden Reed's probably an every down guy. He's going to be in the slot a lot. He's going to be in the backfield a lot. He's going to be that guy that you just try to draw plays for individually. I loved him in Michigan State, and if you got him in a late round, Jaden Reed is a quality pick, man.
For me, it's always about the simple fact of nobody had more than 800 yards, and Romeo Doubs highlights are just popping up. Christian Watson's just going to play X no matter what, just for scheme fit. So that's my biggest I think that team is just a well-oiled machine more than a single player.
So well,
a single player. So if you had to just to get some things, I don't know. I'm in the trade Jaden Reed thing.
Yeah,
That might
did
be
you
me
guys
hating on
hear,
the Packers too. So
Matt LaFleur, when he was asked about a number one receiver on his roster, he said the term number one receiver makes me vomit in my mouth. So that'll kind of give
He
you
can-
some perspective on who's
they
going
can
to.
kiss my ass because if they could have gotten CD Lamb for a first and a
And Christian
Jaden Reed,
Watson?
they
Yeah.
would have done it in a heartbeat. So
Yeah.
kiss my ass like you don't want a number one. You had Devontae Adams and he carried your ass for 5 years. Shut the fuck up. Like,
The show was great.
shut the fuck up. I also hate the Packers, but
Yeah, we all do. But I like Jaden Reed.
yeah, they tried to trade for fucking Chase Claypool and DJ Moore. Thank you, Paul. Yeah, get the fuck out of here. Packers acting like they're just like these geniuses that never make mistakes. Okay, let's see. Brees, Etienne. I like that. That's a duo. Rashad White is your third. That's fucking disgusting. Devontae,
I don't like the
Ayuk.
receiver situation so much.
Me neither. It's a lot of guys dependent on their quarterback, and I
Two
even
guys that
even
might want to be traded.
You
Too.
you start Brock, by the way. Do I start Brock or Jaden Daniels? You start Brock Purdy.
yeah.
Week
Jaden
one,
Daniels
you
is your
matchup dependent.
week
on that.
one, you start Brock Purdy.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yes, sir.
yeah.
Well, no, here, listen, I mean, he's playing the Jets, so that's everybody's picking them as the top
That's a good point.
defense. So be careful with that. You know, I don't remember who Jaden is playing off. I think it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Purdy just has
You
to
might have a
check
better
down.
matchup there that first week.
Purdy
with
just
Jaden
has to
Daniels.
check down to the greatest receiving back existing in the NFL.
Who's
right?
injured right now? Who's injured right now? So like, just
I think you can pencil in. Here's the difference. You can pencil Brock Purdy in for 175 to 200 and 2 touchdowns, pretty much guaranteed. You might get a pick in there. Daniels, I could see going for 75 yards, legitimately.
But if he
and
rushes for 2 touchdowns,
I mean,
Who's
in a panic.
Who's Jaden Daniels playing against?
I think it's the
That's
Bucks.
a good question.
I'm pretty sure it's the Bucks.
That's a defense I love to play against. Yeah.
All right, boys. Let's move on to running backs, and we'll kind of keep it quick. I don't know how long you guys got, but we're already at a half hour. We just got through.
Not much longer. Yeah.
All right, let's go through running backs. Running back one, somebody you really like. Dustin, you get the first pick. Somebody you like. It could be chalk. It could be somebody off the deep end.
I love DeAndre Swift this year, man.
God damn you! Fuck.
Okay, here you have DeAndre Swift. I'll shut up. I'll take the.
No. You take him. Take him. I want to hear you. I want to hear somebody else other than me. Like rush over DeAndre Swift.
Looking at his stats last year in Philly, he improved on things that were question marks for him in Detroit. Whether or not he could stay healthy for an entire season, breaking tackles, getting yards after contact. These are things that he needed to get better at and show that he could do, and he did. And he's going to be really the focal point on a Bears offense that's going to have to run the football. As much as we want to be Madden, we do play in Chicago. We're going to have to run the football, and I think DeAndre Swift is going to really feast in this offense. Not only that, I mean, he had his lowest amount of targets in his career last season with Philly. Nobody utilized him the way they should have in that passing game. I think Caleb Williams, a rookie quarterback, he's going to want to get it to DeAndre Swift, make that quick decision. Let DeAndre Swift pick up the yards after the catch. I'm looking for a lot of big plays from DeAndre Swift this year, man. I love him.
I can't agree more. I think you're going 14 to 15 carries a game and almost locking in like 5 catches to 6, 7 catches a game.
Hell yeah.
In a PPR league, like you're at a 6 to 7 catch guy like almost every game. Even on like extended handoff bullshit, you just it's an extended running play. But they're just going to motion like 3 guys pre-snap and just like an extended run handoff, and it's going to be a PPR point. And I just think it's going to be just all season, 5, 6 catches a game, like lock it in.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah, same. Brandon, how you feeling? What's your like sneak or your just whatever you like? Who do you like?
I love Josh Jacobs in that Packers offense. I really do. I think Jacobs is a better player than Aaron Jones, and I think he's the reason I love Josh Jacobs the most is there's no threat for A.J. Dillon, who I really believe is probably the most overrated player in
you didn't hear breaking news?
No, he's cut.
Dustin, do you hear this? A.J. Dillon out for the year.
Should benefit Jacobs.
There is no risk of Jacobs' timeshare is in no jeopardy whatsoever. He's a quality receiving back. He's a quality running back. And like you just said, the Packers.
Marshawn Lloyd is there too.
The Packers, yeah. What he did a whole lot of USC. The Packers spread the ball really well, and when you can spread 5 out, and you got to worry about guys like Jaden Reed and Jatavion Wicks and Christian Watson and Romeo Dobbs, it's going to open the field. It just is. And Aaron Jones, when he played, was incredible, right? I mean, he burned the Bears, but he couldn't stay healthy. So a guy who can stay healthy on that offense is going to benefit greatly, I think.
Not a fan.
I think I'm with you in theory, mainly because I think AJ Dillon would have vultured the shit out of some touchdowns for him. But I think without that, it's going away. I think he's going to be the main back. Like 80% of the carries are probably going to be his. The only thing I don't know if it translates well, and you just knowing your offense. I've watched enough Packers football to just know that Aaron Jones at worst was a 45-degree angle runner, and then it was north and south. And I feel like Josh Jacobs, while is a much more a better in between the tackles guy than he's given credit for. I could see a few times like it's a spread offense, so just spread it out, let him go north south. So it should be good. I'm with you in agreement that he's good. I feel like there is a little bit more risk potential than maybe we're kind of
3.6 yards per carry last year, guys.
Yeah.
Like his explosion just got zapped from him from that
What about the season prior?
I was just about to talk about that. The season prior, I had him on my fantasy team because I expected him to have a breakout year. But when you have guys that carry the ball that much, I mean, maybe he needed a down year. I don't know. My only concern is
5 yards per carry the season before.
Yeah, but 3.6 last year, and he's going into this season. I mean, Zamir White came into that same offense and ran for 4.4 yards a carry, man. Like that. Dude, that just tells me maybe he's on the decline.
No, he came into an Aiden O'Connell offense where that's not what Josh Jacobs was playing with last year. It was not Aiden O'Connell offense. He was playing with garbage.
So Aiden O'Connell was the difference for that running game?
I think Aiden O'Connell was actually able to throw the ball.
Listen, I don't agree. I'm not as high on Josh Jacobs this year. I'm concerned for sure.
Yeah, I could see both sides. I'm a little bit more on the fence. I'm like 60-40 Brandon on this one. But
yeah, I think the Packers just always find a way to establish a run game. They always do. I mean, no matter you could throw like you go back to the Amon Green, who I didn't think was that.
Aaron Jones is a better player than Josh Jacobs.
Amon Green wasn't that talented. None of the running backs on the Packers were ever that talented, but they still had phenomenal seasons. It's just something they do.
Might just be the system, yeah.
They just do it well.
Yeah. Here's mine. I'm gonna go James Cook, man. Holy shit! I'm all the James Cook stock.
Yeah.
James Cook had almost 1,000 yards, I think, or had 1,000 yards.
He had 1,200 yards, I'm pretty sure.
1,200 like total yards, maybe, or something like that, or whatever. But he had about 48 to 51% of like the load share in Buffalo at that time. I think you are heavily leaning back into running the football for Josh Allen this season, unless you're Joe Brady. Yeah, you're going to go heavily into running the ball. They didn't really necessarily like put out competition for James Cook to kind of have his load share kind of go back to that 50-50 like he did last year. I think he had a breakout year. I think he's a much better receiving back than most people like think or give him credit to be. The issue with that is obviously Josh Allen's going to vulture some goal line touchdowns. And Dustin, you mentioned somebody who was, I forgot the running back you mentioned for Buffalo. Ray Davis going to potentially, so he might not be a big touchdown guy, but if he gets one touchdown per game catching or running, plus his traditional stats, I think he's going to be like your RB1 or RB2 easy by the end of the season. I don't think he's like a flex guy. He might start there just because of where he's projected. He's projected next to guys like, well, I guess like Kamara and Josh Jacobs are similar areas. So we're big fans on like that middle of the pack guys, but we're projecting them in like RB1s, RB2s, which that's where I'm at with like James Cook. I think James Cook I'm buying all the stock on that one. I put him down as my first keeper.
I couldn't agree with you more. I'm expecting big things from him too, and I think he's a steal. I think he's a steal where he's going. My only thing is like if you're taking one of these top couple of running backs like Bijan and Breece Hall, both bye weeks in week 12, and then you got to turn around for your second running back, and if it's James Cook, he's a bye week 12. Like that's where I run into my conundrums with these guys. I mean, it is what it is. You bite the bullet because you want the talent for sure, but like it's like if you got your two best running backs out in 1 week, you can chalk yourself up.
I mean, all three of us are 11-0 by then, so it's like we can lose one fucking game. You know what I mean?
That's the goal. That's the plan.
That's
the
plan.
Yeah,
right?
I'm in on James Cook.
Dustin will be 11-0 if I play him.
We'll see.
Right. My honorable mention is Bijan, though. I'm drinking all the Bijan Kool-Aid.
Yeah, for sure.
He's my number one.
He's my number
It's chalk.
He's my number one.
He's my number one. I'm taking him over Christian McCaffrey if I get first overall.
Me too. So am I.
Okay.
That's interesting.
He is the new. He is the new young version of Christian McCaffrey. He's going to be the guy who takes care of the pass game, the run game. He's going to be that new 45% of your offense. I think that's who he's about to be for sure.
I said this to the other guy I was talking to, Richie, about this. I'm like, just take Kyron Williams' season and project it in Atlanta with a little bit more spread offense and a better running back. Yeah, because that's what you're getting. Zach Robinson's coming over from LA over to Atlanta. Kyron Williams was an absolute load share monster once they figured out what he could do. And he was like 85% of the snaps or something like that towards the end of the season. Catching, running, everything, touchdowns. Didn't take him out at the goal line. Tyler Algier might vulture some stuff once in a while, but I don't see that happening too much. So
no, Bijan is the way the Falcons used Bijan Robinson last year was criminal. He is one of the most athletic players in the NFL. He can catch the ball as well as a receiver. He's a hell of a running back. He finds gaps. He can beat you on the outside. He can run it up the middle. There's no reason Bijan Robinson couldn't finish as the number one player in fantasy football. I truthfully believe that.
Hey guys, I appreciate you having me on, but I'm up against it time wise. I got to run. I apologize for.
Hey, hit us with your I don't fucking get it, and then we'll talk about it for a running back.
I don't fucking get it. Ooh, I think it's Josh Jacobs. It's Josh Jacobs for me. We already kind of talked about that, and then I would say maybe James Conner.
Okay.
Yeah, James Conner's going to have a handcuff on him for sure. I agree that I don't like that Steelers backfield no matter who you're taking. I really don't. Okay, I don't.
Arizona, buddy.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, James Conner.
Yeah. All right, Dustin, take care, man.
Later. Who am I thinking of?
TJ Warren?
Warren, yeah.
TJ Warren, yeah, and he's a little bit injured.
Actually like Conner, to be honest.
Yeah, me too, actually. In Arizona, he's one of the best, most consistent late round running backs that you can kind of just stash on your bench week to week in case you get an injury. Here's my I don't get it for running backs, because I know where you're going with yours. Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't fucking get it.
I mean, to
be projected 5th or 6th and all of the running backs. When we're talking, it's one of those things. It's the same reason I don't understand the Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall and Aaron Rodgers. And you can't have all of it and be like the top 2 at each position. You can't have Sam Laporta be number 1 tight end. You can't have Amon-Ra St. Brown be a top 3 wide receiver. You can't have Jameson Williams be your big play guy, and then also have David Montgomery in there, and then say that Jahmyr Gibbs is going to just feast and have all the touches. There's not enough ball to go around. Monty poaches. Yeah, Monty will take the touchdowns there. Jahmyr Gibbs, unless he's running for a 75-yard touchdown every time, once a game, I mean, I don't see it. I don't get it. 106 for Gibbs is insane. I don't understand what that's going. I mean, just the projection of this. It was 50-50, maybe 60-40 Monty last year. And then towards the end of the season, Jahmyr got a few extra carries. And I think that's a byproduct of league is tired. He is the second back with fresh legs. David Montgomery took all the beatings. And then Jahmyr Gibbs kind of came in and just had some big breakaway plays against slower defenses, which at the end of the year, that's why defense wins championships. Everything slows down a little bit. And if you're quick and you're young and you're fast and you're healthy, you're probably going to break off a few. So I just don't get the Jahmyr Gibbs thing.
Yeah, I like Jahmyr Gibbs more in a passing game role than I do as a running back, just because David Montgomery is the starting running back. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs is probably the only backup player who's ever finished as high as he is in pre-draft rankings. I do think he's going to play a major impact in their passing role. Reynolds was actually a really good receiver on the Lions, and nobody kind of talked about the fact that he's gone. So Jameson Williams is going to have to make up for. He's going to have to carry a lot of weight because you've got Amon-Ra, you've got Laporta, but outside that, Jameson's the option, man. So I think Gibbs might take a good majority of the pass catching that Reynolds got last year, and Jameson, I'm not a big believer in yet. I still got to see it. He's obviously a big play guy, but is he a consistently like 5 to 7 catch guy per game? I don't see that.
Yeah, I don't like him either, Jameson Williams personally, but the Lions did just pick up Tim Patrick off of waivers for free. And then
Yeah, saw that.
the other thing I'll say about David Montgomery is, like, I understand that maybe Jahmyr Gibbs is better in a passing offense, but David Montgomery, I mean, I watched him every day, every game for 3 years. He has no slouch in pass catching. So if you're saying that Jahmyr Gibbs is going in and just pass.
And he's also a much better pass protector than Jahmyr Gibbs.
That's what I'm saying. So he's going to be in there, and I don't think it's one of those things. If you put Jahmyr Gibbs in during passing situations for running backs where you know it's going to be like the target, you're almost putting him into a bind because he's going to be only in there for pass catching situations when you have a perfectly good 3-down back over him. I didn't understand the draft pick then. I don't understand the fantasy draft pick value now. If you've noticed, I hate a lot on the NFC North, but
drafting him after signing Montgomery was strange. The Lions could have used some defensive players in that draft, so that threw me off for sure.
All right, let's get to your.
I don't deny the talent. I just don't. The situation is weird.
Me neither. I think on a different team, he's probably deserved of 106, but on this team, I don't. It doesn't make sense to me to be that high of a projection.
Yeah, my what the fuck is Brees Hall, man, and I don't discredit the player's ability. I think that the passing game, I think Garrett Wilson's going to be a big impact fantasy player this year. I think the passing game's going to obviously improve. I think, the defense had the ability to put 8 in the box and kind of plan for Brees Hall, so he's going to have a little more space to move, but his attempts are going to come down without a doubt. He only rushed for 994 yards, so he's shy of 1,000, and in today's day and age, 1,000-yard rushers aren't really rare, but I also see his receiving stats. He had 500 yards receiving. I see that coming down substantially. I think he has around 300 yards receiving this year. I still don't know that he breaks the 1,000-yard plane as a rusher. I love Brees Hall. I do. I like drafting guys in your fantasy leagues, not as like a top 6 player in the NFL. I'm not buying into that.
Not only that, but top 3 drafted player pretty much across every mock, right?
Yeah, I'm not. I can't buy into that. I like I said, I love the player, but where he's being taken, just the first time, because I stepped away from fantasy rankings for a year. Preseason came around, I opened it up and I saw him there, and it just kind of blew my mind. Like I don't get the draw. I really don't. I don't love the Jets' offense in general, and I certainly don't love a running back who didn't get 1,000 yards on a team last year when he was like 50% of the offense, who's now going to be obviously less than 50% of the offense. So I would just pump the brakes a little bit, guys, on Hall in your leagues.
Yeah. Got any honorable mentions of I don't get him? Just to shoot it out there.
Another guy that I've seen go a little high in my mock drafts, man. Are we talking about just running backs?
Yeah, running backs for now.
Yeah, Zach Moss is a guy I'm seeing taken, and I know Mixon had a pretty successful career in Cincinnati. Moss had a decent year last year when Taylor was injured, but Chase Brown is a guy I love out of Illinois. I watched him through his entire college career. He's a Swiss Army. He's like the Devon A-Chain. He's kind of that kind of guy, and he's going to get a lot of time on the field. I really believe that. So if you're thinking about drafting Zach Moss as a running back 1, don't do it.
Gotcha.
That's my advice.
My I don't get it runner up is Isaiah Pacheco to be 8th or 9th, to be rated above like guys like Travis Etienne,
That's crazy.
Derrick Henry, Rashad White. Even I like Rashad White a lot. Isaiah Pacheco, the silly running thing has gotten that guy drafted in like the top 5 rounds, literally off of just like stomping on the ground really hard. He's never going to have load share. He plays in an offense where the best case scenario for him is when he's in a 4 wide situation, everybody spreads out and he's just like a bowling ball through the middle. So yeah, I just don't get it.
Yeah, and the passing game, I do believe the Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice, and Hollywood Brown, that passing game just got substantially better.
Agreed. I'll agree with you there. I think the offense is probably most balanced it's been since Tyreek Hill left. But Travis Kelce's a year older. I guess that's really the only complaint. But yeah, I mean, we're all scared of the Chiefs. I mean, let's be honest. Every year I'm projecting them at 13 wins. So Brees Hall last season off a waiver. Wait, how'd you get Brees Hall off of waivers? The moment Rodgers got injured. And he didn't even get drafted in my 10-player league. Well, that's just on your league's fault. So good for you, man.
That's a little. Like I said, I love the player. I don't love where he's being drafted.
All right. Give me your best deep cut running back, like for your running back 2 flex spot. Deep cut, huge upside, potentially kind of thing.
Well, a guy that you're going to take a major risk on, but I don't believe in what's in front of him is Jonathan Brooks, a guy who was drafted this year. He's a rookie. He's on that Panthers offense. The Panthers are going to try to balance run and pass. They're going to try to take pressure off of Bryce Young. Sanders suffered an injury in the preseason. I don't know if that'll affect him in the season. Chuba Hubbard is what he is, right? I mean, I wouldn't touch that guy in fantasy. I wouldn't touch Sanders in fantasy, and I don't care how much he's getting paid. Jonathan Brooks is a really quality player, man.
Like end of the stash him on the end of your bench until
I don't know if he's your running back too, but yeah, if you want to stash a guy who might possibly end up being your running back too, and take him in a late round, that's somebody I would take a chance on for sure.
Yeah, comment said Jerome Ford. I think Jerome Ford's a good one, and we touched on it a little bit just because he's kind of the opposite of what you just said, where he's going to get a lot of early touches, and then you might drop him at the end of the season and pick up somebody else. So Jerome Ford's a good one because even then Nick Chubb's out for probably 4 to 6 weeks, and then even then he'll be eased back into it. My guy, I would say, just because again I look at the situation, the coaching, stuff like that. I don't even want it to come out of my mouth because I feel stupid saying it. But Javonte Williams, if we're talking like a deep cut, you're not going to have Bo Nix throwing 30 to 40 times a game. If you are, Sean Payton is going to pull like a Vontae Davis and just like peace out in the middle of halftime at some point. Like Sean Payton's just going to like walk out if he's going to have Bo Nix throwing 30, 45 times a game. I think Denver, and if you're just looking back on Sean Payton's offenses in the past, a lot of screen game, a lot of open field stuff, a lot of like zone running schemes, right, where we're just like letting the guy kind of just make a first cut and go. It's Denver. I don't know. There's just something about Denver running backs that kind of always works for a year or two, right? Even the
another guy,
the little guy.
Another guy too is Gus Edwards because J.K. Dobbins is going to suffer an injury. We all know that.
Oh, God, J.K. Dobbins, man.
He's not going to start for the Chargers for very long. Gus Edwards is going to end up being the starting running back there. They did draft a quality running back. I forget his name, but
yeah.
Keep your eyes
but these
on
guys we're talking about, like the 30th ranked guys that you could probably end up flexing for a while. So I call that. That's a good call as well. Meat and potatoes. Let's just do tight ends quick just to get them out of the way, I would say. Just kind of because, like, I think it's going to be a lot simpler than people like to think. Who's your I like it, go for it. I mean, it's just such a crapshoot, but give me your guy you like.
I actually love tight ends this year, man. I think if you're in a 12-man league, if you're in a 12-man league, there's 12 quality tight ends in the NFL for sure. Njoku broke out. Evan Ingram had 114 receptions. He was 4th in the league. So you got some late guys. Like, you don't have to. The thing I love about tight end this year, guys, is don't go after those Kelce's. Don't go after the Portas. Don't go after the Kittles. Wait on that position. Because a guy like Trey McBride, a guy like Evan Ingram, those are guys that I take, probably that fall to you in like the 5th or 6th. Take those guys. Evan Ingram had 114 receptions last year. And I know Brian Thomas is going to be an impact player. Christian Kirk is healthy again, but I still think that's the guy Trevor Lawrence likes the most. I really do. And then Trey McBride is going to go a little higher because with the injury to Zay Jones, you've literally got Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride. That's about it. So his stock is rising. But a guy that I think is, when Murray came back to play at the end of last year, he loved McBride. That's a guy that I would be pretty high on too.
I agree. Only reason I'm like curious that's interesting that you said that there's 12 good ones. I think there's 12 good ones, but I feel like it's the 18th guy ranked to me, right? So it's there's guys in the middle that I'm like that I don't.
That's why I said
There's a
I don't-
lot
I don't
more
love-
I don't get it. There's a lot more I don't get them in here.
Don't be taking your tight ends guys before the third round. Don't take them before the fourth round. I think there's a decent amount of quality tight ends. You know, you've got Kittle, Goddard, Njoku, Ingram, McBride, Kelsey, Laporta. I mean, there's a handful of guys that, and let's be honest, even guys like besides Kelsey, even guys like Laporta, you're going to have some bad weeks. That's just the way the tight end position works. I really believe that. I think Laporta's going to struggle as well. Guys like Ferguson, Schultz on Houston, you can wait a little bit and find your tight end one and probably get close to the same result as some of these guys that are going to draft their tight ends in the second, third round.
Yeah. My guy here. I feel like if you want to make any homer pick as a Bears fan, because obviously we got Bears fans here, I think Cole Kmet's your best bet. I think he's a super late pick. I think you can get him basically as like your maybe even 8th or 9th round pick, 10th round pick. And I see so much upside. He's going to be on the field all the fucking time. Like, I mean, it's 2 tight end to 3 tight end sets all the time. He's never going to be out of the game. Whenever there's a tight end in the game, if we start seeing Gerald Everett in 1 tight end packages over Cole Kmet, I think we're talking more as Bears fans here where there's a fucking problem. There's no world, there's no universe where Cole Kmet's not one of the most 10 physically gifted tight ends in the league. It's about putting them in their best position.
Was weird, right, David?
Yeah, it was really fucking weird.
65% of the snaps, and I was so confused because Kmet's not only a player who's just got paid, but a quality player. I mean, he's done
physically
nothing,
looking. I've never seen Cole Kmet look quicker. He's getting out of breaks faster. He's running his routes crisper.
He's progressed every year, which is the idea, right?
Yeah.
That's what you want from a player.
And again, like if you're going to be a heavy running team, he's going to be your number 1 blocker. I mean, I would in running situations, I would rather have Mercedes Lewis out there than Gerald fucking Everett. I mean, I understand in 3 tight end sets, it's understandable, but put Cole Kmet out there. It's one of those. He's also like your Swiss Army knife, where if you're in a 1 tight end set, I could just as easily as a defense think they're running the ball, and then they're or they're passing the ball. Like 12 personnel, 13 personnel. Like it's one of those Swiss Army knife things. I also think Caleb Williams is probably going to find him the ball better than he's had anybody find him or get him the ball in the first 4 years of his career, even Fields off the table or anything like that. But same thing. Cole Kmet is one of those guys that I think Fields, this is also going back into your, I don't get it, guys. Freiermuth is going to suffer this year. And I don't believe in any of the Freiermuth hype. Justin Fields cannot see tight ends. He just doesn't understand it, or he can't see them and read them and get them in their right spots, or like do that little, sit down and zone type stuff that tight ends really feast off of that are really good. Cole Kmet does that really well. So I think if there's a match made in heaven in terms of like a safety blanket, obviously Keenan Allen's like your safety blanket number 1 on the Bears, but I see like safety blanket number 2 on the Bears, even over DJ Moore, is going to be Cole Kmet. I think he's one of the best like physically gifted tight ends. I think he's already a top 10 real life NFL tight end, and right now average draft rank position has him at like 18 to 20, which I think is just silly as hell. You got like Jack Conklin over him, Hunter Henry, Taysom Hill, insane. So I think if you're a homer and you want to have like a guy to root for on your team, but he's also probably going to be one of your most productive players at a position that like is a crapshoot anyway, go for Cole Kmet, man. Take him late. Put him as your starter, and you could probably ride him out the whole season.
Another tight end I see taking a pretty big step forward this year, guys, is Dalton Kincaid. He's a player that I like. The receiving core was kind of flipped upside down on that team. I do like Keon Coleman. He was a red zone monster in Florida State. But Dalton Kincaid has already kind of found a connection with Josh Allen. So
they're gonna slot him out and use him like a big chunky slot receiver basically all season.
Yeah, he's gonna be off the line. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Who's your I don't get it guy?
I really don't have one with tight end. I where the players fall in projection seems to be pretty fitting. A guy that I'd concern myself with is Kittle. I love George Kittle. I love George Kittle as a player. He's one of the best blocking tight ends I've ever watched in football. People don't really pay attention to that too much. But he's probably the biggest boomer bust skill player in the NFL, if you ask me. I mean, you can get 3 touchdowns and 150 yards out of the guy, and then next week you might get 3 catches for 32 yards and no touchdowns. So it's a guy. If he's going high in your league, don't touch him.
Yeah. I don't even. I'm just gonna say this just out of based off draft off ranks and positions. Putting Kyle Pitts anywhere near
Oh God,
10, he's number 8.
oh,
He
God.
doesn't deserve to be. He doesn't deserve to be top 20.
No.
Kirk Cousins did not look to T.J. Hawkinson that much anyway. So to project that Kirk Cousins is going to go now looking for Kyle Pitts all of a sudden, Kirk Cousins was never a big tight end guy before T.J. Hawkinson. Can you tell me who he was throwing to? You can't, because Kirk Cousins, even though was super reliable, super consistent, and you would think he's a guy that likes to throw to tight ends because he's that, that stand in the pocket like and hold on to it till the last second guy. He was throwing it up to Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Stephon. Like, he had ballers out there. And so 86 86. I know the number who Paulie's talking about. Number 86 is the tight end from Washington, but I can't tell you who it was.
Irv
but
Smith
yeah,
from Washington.
Washington back. I think he's talking about when Kirk Cousins was there. Logan Thomas, maybe. Yeah.
Logan Thomas is their quarterback or tight end now. He was actually drafted in the NFL as a quarterback.
Yeah, but I just don't understand the Kyle Pitts projection. Just give up. If he falls to you in like the last round of your draft because everybody else is scared. Jordan Reed, that's a good one. Yeah, Jordan Reed. Jordan Reed's a good tight end, period, though. I think he's still somewhere in the league.
Couldn't beat injury, man.
Yeah, exactly. So he was just a good tight end, period. I don't know if that's a credit to Kirk Cousins finding him, but unless you're basically saying TJ Hawkinson is washed, or he's just not as good. TJ Hawkinson did not have a great year last year.
Don't touch TJ Hawkinson.
Please don't. But even last year when he was getting 95 catches, 960 yards, 5 touchdowns. This is pretty good. Not worth 2 second-round picks. That's insane.
The Vikings are talking about him not being available till like after November. Don't touch that guy.
Yeah, exactly. All right, man. We're on our last category for the day because I don't think anybody wants to talk about defense. Maybe we give our top 5 defenses collectively, me and you, and maybe some guys that we like. But kickers, just take one eventually, or just pick one up in free agency because
I don't even put kickers in my league.
Nope. Who the fuck cares? Sorry. So give me your wide receiver. Give me 2 actually, because now since we're talking and you got 2 spots for him at a flex. Give me your 2 favorite, maybe not even under the radar guys, but even guys who are high up on your list, and you're just like, no, that's definitely a good call. Like lock that in, get him.
Okay, if we're gonna talk about just all across the board, CeeDee Lamb is a guy, guys. I like CeeDee Lamb more than Tyreek Hill and Christian McCaffrey. If you're first overall in your draft, I'd take CeeDee Lamb over both those guys. That's somebody I love. Another guy who I'm gonna go risk here, guys. He's gonna go late in your draft, but I'd take a chance on, because we talked early in the show about taking a chance on rookies. I love Brian Thomas being the number 1 eventually on Jacksonville and quickly. I think those LSU receivers, really good transition to the pros from Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. Malik Neighbors is going to. Brian Thomas, I think, is better receiver than Christian Kirk. He's 6'3", 215. He runs a 3.33 or a 4.33. He's just a monster. He's an athlete. He's Tyreek Hill with a bigger body. I think he ends up by week 3 or 4 being the number 1 receiver on the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's a guy that I love. I see him going like 7th round. I love him there. I really do. So that's a guy. And I don't usually pitch rookies to people who are listening to my advice. But if you're going to go rookies, Marvin Harrison's the guy. If you're going to go rookies and you're going to wait a little bit, I see Brian Thomas quickly, probably like week 3 or 4 as a wide receiver 2 in the NFL in fantasy.
I don't disagree. And it's funny that you said at the beginning that you're a rookie guy. I'm a huge rookie guy. I take young players in good situations way over like names that are just kind of starting to get washed up, and people kind of take them 1 year too long in fantasy. So even I think just throwing mine in there, like adding to your rookie conversation, Keon Coleman, Marvin Harrison, I think are all still very good picks and like your mid-round picks over taking some of these guys that are like name recognition that are rated above them.
Yeah, like DeAndre Hopkins.
Dude, like Christian Kirk, Deontay Johnson.
I have a buddy of mine just pitches Kirk like he's a 1,200 yard, like 90 catch guy. Guys, don't be misled. But when Christian Kirk had the season he did, Trevor Lawrence had nobody else to throw the ball to. There's options now. Evan Ingram is there. You know, Etienne can catch the ball. Like I said, Brian Thomas is a good player. I also like a guy named Elijah Cooks, who's been on the Jaguars for a year now. He was on the practice squad and then pulled up last year at the end of the season. He's 6'5", 220, and he can run. So Kirk's a guy I don't touch.
Yeah, in terms of your value too, right? Like, because you're getting these guys really late, whereas opposed to like you'd have to spend pretty good like draft capital, like 4th round stuff on like guys like Deebo Samuel or Malik Neighbors even. Like, who the hell's throwing Malik Neighbors the ball? Like, it's not going to happen, man. I'd rather take, like you said, Brian Thomas, just because you know he's going to get the ball in better situations than Malik Neighbors, who's going to have like 700 yards all season, and then he's going to have to like scratch and claw his way to those 700 yards.
Yeah, so David, you would probably agree, and we're going to tell like the viewers just now, guys. If you're looking at rookies, no matter how you feel about the player, because I love Malik Neighbors, he's a great athlete, probably the most athletic player that was in this draft.
He was my number 1 receiver this draft.
Me too, over Marvin Harrison. But guys, situation and opportunity, not just the offensive scheme they're placed into, but how much are they going to be on the field? Romadunze is an incredible player. He's going to be a number 1 wide receiver in the NFL. Not this year. So like that's a guy you want to kind of if he falls to you really late, sure, Keenan Allen might suffer an injury and you're going to see a lot more Romadunze. But Brian Thomas, when it comes to besides Marvin Harrison, because he got placed in the best situation it could be, besides Marvin Harrison, when it comes to opportunity and the offensive situation, Brian Thomas is my favorite rookie receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm with you on some rookies. We could talk about rookies for a while, but in terms of let me go with like your CD Lamb equivalent of for me. I mean, it's all chalk, I guess. Amon-Ra, you can't go wrong. I mean, Amon-Ra is going to have 80 yards and a touchdown every single game. 10 catches. He'll make them dirty, but he'll get them.
Riff it out for a minute, David. I'll be right back.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think a few more late round, a little bit later down that draft line that I think are maybe underrated projections or something like that, or you're safe with a DK Metcalf. You're probably safe with, just these number 1 options, Cooper Kupp being as low ranked as he is now. And I think he used to be ranked in your top 5 every year, and to go down to 20, 22 and have his position taken over by Puka Nacua, I think is a little bit irrational. Just because Puka Nacua had a good year doesn't mean that when Cooper Kupp comes back, Puka Nacua has taken all the Cooper Kupp minutes and catches, and then you're stuck with Cooper Kupp having the table scraps from him. So I think that's a little bit not genuine. And then at this point, with Jahan Dotson getting traded and Washington and whoever's left in Washington, man, I think Terry McLaurin, like if he's 36th ranked receiver in the league, we're talking about him next to guys who are the 2nd and 3rd options on a lot of team. I think Terry McLaurin, it doesn't really even matter who's throwing him the ball. He's going to get you 1,000 yards and probably 5 to 7 touchdowns all season. So I think Terry McLaurin at this point is going to get so much target share that you're probably pretty safe with taking him in a later round if he's your 36th projected guy. I'm a big fan, Brandon, of like taking good receivers on bad teams over taking the 2nd best receiver on a decent team. So like if you give me the option of taking Terry McLaurin and like Devontae Smith or like Jalen Waddle at the same point, I'm taking Terry McLaurin every time.
You said a name, man, that I this is just gut, guys. DK Metcalf, I think, is due for a monster season. Monster. I like Smith-Njigba. I do. I had him on my team last year, and I stashed him for a long time until he finally started to produce. I think Tyler Lockett is just about at the bottom of the hill, man. I really believe that.
I don't think he even makes it through the season.
And what I love about DK Metcalf is if Geno Smith were to get injured, I love Sam Howell throwing the ball. Like he's not going to win you a playoff game, but that guy's he airs the ball out. He can throw 4,000 yards. We watched it. So I mean,
he has one of my favorite nicknames, man, the Howlitzer.
You know,
That's a
another
great
guy that I
nickname.
love, another wide receiver that I love that I think has fallen a little lower than I thought he would this year because, like I said, I dove into pre-draft rankings about 3 weeks ago. Zay Flowers is a guy that I think is falling a little low. Flowers is the number one option in the passing game on that offense, and Lamar Jackson can throw the ball. I think there's a
Yeah.
misconception that Lamar is going to run. He's got Derrick Henry behind him. He's going to stay in the pocket. He's going to try to throw the ball as much as possible, and Flowers is going to be the guy that benefits.
Oh yeah, I can already picture like these pistols formations with Derrick Henry and just like these read options, and then Zay Flowers just running like the tightest zip route I've ever fucking seen, just getting like 7 catches for 58 yards and a touchdown every single game. So I'm with you there. I'm a big Zay Flowers fan too. Last year. I was just texting Paulie highlights of Zay Flowers in college and just like the tightest fucking routes I've ever seen in my entire life. I
Yeah,
think Zay
no, I agree.
Flowers.
I was telling people Flowers and Addison because Johnston and Smith-Njigba, Quentin Johnston
Yeah.
and Smith-Njigba were the guys everybody was so high on. When Flowers was drafted there, I was telling like this is the best situation a rookie receiver can be in. And then Addison too, you knew it was only a matter of time. You know what I mean?
I didn't see the Addison thing. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna pretend like I saw. I watched.
Caleb's guy. I loved Caleb Williams, man. So like I was
Yeah.
watching, you know what I mean? I was whoever his guy was, not so much Brendan Rice, but like whoever his guy was, that's the guy. Like I liked Addison when he was in USC.
All right, I'm gonna hit you with some I don't get them / just avoid them. I'm tempted to say Jamar Chase, but I won't. I do think he's projected way too high. I think he's like my wide receiver 10 over a lot of these guys. But I'm not going to go so far as to say like I don't get it. The Chris Olave situation is just so messy, and I truly just don't understand. I look at him as in like Malik Neighbors territory, where I just don't understand. My big thing that I haven't seen a lot on Twitter, and I don't know how much you hang out on Twitter. I'm telling Paulie, I think the Saints might be the worst team in the league this year. I don't like the Saints at all. And I want Cameron Jordan for a fourth round pick badly.
I think the best thing for the Saints is that Spencer Rattler gets to play some football, man. That's how bad it is over there. You know.
I'm trying to put it out there into the world. I want Cam Jordan, man. Cam Jordan for like a 4th round pick and just some contract dump because the Saints are an absolute contract purgatory. I want Cam Jordan on this team. I think he's most perfect defensive end, slide into defensive tackle guy. He's basically DeMarcus Walker on crack. It's just perfect.
Yeah, that can actually get to the quarterback. Yeah.
Right. I think Cam Jordan, man. God, I hope the Saints just tank and we can get him for like a 3rd or 4th round pick. Some of my absolute don't understand them. Like, just please don't do this to yourself. I guess I don't have too many just because of situations, but I just don't understand how 3 wide receivers on the Texans are in the top 30. I mean, unless you're projecting CJ Stroud to have 5,800 yards, like one of them will not be anywhere near top 50. Take your pick of who you like the most and stick to it. But otherwise, like, please stop like with the Texans thing. Don't take the second Texans receiver in the 3rd or 4th round. Just don't do it.
I like Nico Collins. Yeah.
I honestly don't know who, and I think that's part of the problem is that I don't know who CJ Stroud is going to favor. And so pick the one you like. So if it's Nico Collins, go for it.
How long can Tank Dell? I mean, the guy's like 5'8", 150. How long can Tank Dell stay in the NFL? Man.
Yeah. And then Devontae Adams. I think Devontae Adams is just a general stay away with his demeanor and how he carries himself and how much quarterback uncertainty there is there. And I think the Raiders it's never happened before where a coach like this takes over midseason. They have a rah-rah season to kind of like fix the problems, and then they come back and they're actually good. It's literally never happened before. I don't project it happening again. So Devontae Adams is probably a stay away. The only thing I would say is Gardner Minshew's a huge upgrade over their quarterback situation from last year.
Yeah, so. And I think Trey Tucker's going to actually start to take some quality reps away from some of those guys, man. They got a decent player in Trey Tucker. They drafted a good player.
Yeah. Any stayaways for you?
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I feel like from what I've seen in mock drafts is I think people are kind of getting pressured almost into taking Jordan Palmer higher than he should be. The Chargers' new number 1 receiver, Josh Palmer. Josh Palmer. A lot of injury there, guys. When he's on the field, he's looked pretty I don't know, productive, but a lot of injuries. If he's on the field from week 1, he's not going to make it to week 17. I really don't believe that. Quentin Johnston, that receiving core in LA, man, stay away from those guys. Stay away.
Yeah, I
from them.
guess the logic is just like somebody's got to catch the balls.
Yeah, Herbert's going to throw, and so, but I think it's a crapshoot there in the passing. And like you said, man, they're going to rely heavily on their run. I don't love Palmer being like 1,000-yard receiver. I see him being taken as a wide receiver 2 on a lot of teams.
Oof.
Three at best, guys. Three at best, if not a flex. Just like I said, because he's the option there. I feel like I've seen a lot of people in mock drafts taking him like in the 5th round, and I'm thinking to myself, like, are you thinking you kind of have to do this? It's like I can't leave a number 1 out there in the 5th round, but like I don't love him.
Yeah, again, unless we're following the Terry McLaurin logic, which put Terry McLaurin on the Chargers, he's probably like wide receiver.
Oh, he's
4.
a stud.
You know what I mean? He's probably wide receiver 4 on the whole draft. But like, Josh Palmer is not Terry McLaurin, so kind of stay away. I get you.
Yeah, and they did the Keenan Allen thing. They did the Mike Williams thing. I get it, but they didn't do anything to address it besides draft Brendan Rice, who is the reason Caleb Williams struggled to pass the damn ball. There's a lot of Rashee Rice fans out there too because they love Caleb and they love Jerry Rice, or Brendan Rice, sorry, but not a guy that I'd touch in a fan. Do not touch Brendan Rice in a fantasy league. Leave him out there.
Is Brendan Rice anywhere? Did you land
Brendan
on a
Rice
team?
He's on the Chargers here.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he was
drafted by the Chargers, 5th round, I think it was.
7th
round. Jeez. Yeah. Don't do that. Dustin Jones not wrong though. Wide receiver 4. If you get him at wide receiver 4, he's going around the time that 4th wide receivers are going. Dustin, you're 100%.
Josh, who's that? Palmer.
Josh Palmer. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like I said, I've seen people taking him as their wide receiver 2. Don't do that, guys.
Yeah, don't do that. I agree. Yeah. Other than that, I think while you were gone, I think the Cooper Kupp disrespect over Puka Nacua has gotten way out of hand. I don't understand the fact that like they just flip flopped and you're treating Puka Nacua like Cooper and then Cooper like Puka Nacua. I don't think that's fair, nor is it smart to take Puka that high over Cooper. I think Cooper is a much better value, and you'll probably end up with the guy with the better stats. And then, your stayaways like your George Pickens. I just never liked George Pickens personally.
Really? I love George Pickens, but yeah, I know I agree with you.
I say personally, like he just seems like a little bit diva mentality. I feel like he's just going to yell at whoever's the quarterback there and just like, you missed me every time. He's probably going to get your 1,200 yards and 4 to 5 touchdowns this season, so he's probably not a bad wide receiver 3. I've had George Pickens, I want to say 2 years in a row, and he kind of disappoints when it matters.
Oh, absolutely. Been really disappointing.
Yeah, so it's always a little disappointing in terms of where he gets taken. And then anybody on the Browns, man, I don't know. Deshaun Watson's just too risky, but Amari Cooper's probably a pretty good bet as your wide receiver 3. If you can get him that late, maybe 2 even if you're feeling risky. Stay away from Deontay Johnson. And I've avoided mentioning Chicago Bears for a reason. DJ Moore is probably your only smart draft pick in here as your wide receiver 2.
Yep.
Otherwise, Keenan Allen might be a stash him, and then Rome is in like keeper leagues and stuff like that. But I don't see much production out of Rome.
I agree 100%.
As the preseason has gone on, I think Rome's like, I went from, when it started and we're all like 3,000-yard receivers. I think Rome's going to have like a 400 to 700-yard season at best, right? Like 500 is probably where I'm thinking he's going to end up.
Yeah, it's not
barring injury.
Yeah, Rome is the future number 1 receiver in the NFL. I believe that, but not this year, guys.
Yeah. So, just touch on defenses a little bit quickly, just out of curiosity. I think the Bears are probably a solid one, and projection is Browns probably pretty good. I think the Cowboys are rated a little higher than they should be. I don't understand what that is. I don't understand that number 2.
My buddy did 3 mock drafts and took the Cowboys defense and everyone. And I was like, why do you keep taking the Cowboys? I'm so confused by this. Like,
yeah.
Why do you keep doing this?
Bears are about to get Micah Parsons too. So what are we talking about here?
Yeah, right. As far as Caleb's concerned. No, I like the Jets, the Browns, the Niners. I do like the Bears.
I think Bears are a high upside on that with the turnovers.
Yeah, they're playing a lot of young quarterbacks and Will Levis, Bryce Young, not JJ McCarthy
Exactly.
anymore, but
Much more matchup favorable and just mix.
CJ Stroud. Yeah, a lot of young guys.
It's about the points.
A lot of quarterbacks with very little experience.
Agreed. You know, your stayaways, I would say just don't do the Cowboys. The Steelers, maybe. I mean, I don't really know, but the other part of that is like you got to always think about defense as a extension of the offense. Are the Steelers going to be out on the field all the fucking time because of 3 and outs? Probably. So they're going to give up a lot of yards. They're going to give up a lot of touchdowns just out of who's on the other side and are they staying off the field? And they're probably not. You're going to see a lot of 3 and outs out of Pittsburgh. You're going to see a lot of turnovers out of Pittsburgh. And now, and their defense is giving up 20-yard touchdowns because they just threw a pick at the 20-yard line. So
a defense I love in the NFL, guys, but just be a little like pump your brakes a little bit in fantasy is the Ravens. They led the league. They led the league in points against. They led the league in sacks. They led the league in takeaways. But I don't. That's a defense that I'm very, very hesitant on this year for some reason. I'm going to be honest with you. We talked about this last night on our show, guys. I wait till the end of the draft to take my defense and see who's the best on the board, and then I kind of go week by week. If you think you have a defense that's going to literally make an impact on your fantasy season, like score double-digit points per week, if you get them, maybe the 12th round, sure, go for it. But I like to wait on my defense, and I don't even put pickers in.
I go last round or second to last round if I have to, and that's only if the top 3 defenses are left. And then if you're feeling risky, I have a good feeling about Seattle this year.
Yeah, I agree. And if you guys, if the Bears are there and you're in the last round of your draft, take them.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure, take them.
Brandon, dude, that was awesome, man. Too much agreeing with you. I think we maybe should have argued a little bit more, but I think we're kind of on the same page, and that's why we're top 3 guys every year in our leagues, eh? Yeah, man, it was a pleasure talking to you. Would love to have you back on for any sort of fantasy stuff throughout the season. We're try to do some top 3 sit-ems, top 3, stardoms, kind of based on injuries and stuff like that. So if you ever have a little bit of time, love to have you back on. For anybody watching, it always blows my mind that anybody watches me on YouTube. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you for any support. Bear down. Let's go watch some Hard Knocks. And Brandon, thank you for coming.
David, thanks for having me, man. It's been a blast, honestly. Let's do this again for sure. I want to thank Paul, Bearski. Thanks for having me on here too. And yeah, dude, some sleepers, some sit-ems, some stardoms. I'm down. Let's do this again. Man.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll get your info. So we'll be chatting soon.
All right, brother.
Cool. Take care, guys. Thank you very much. Bear down.